Morning, y'all. Hey, welcome back to Twin Oaks Family Farm. Thank you for joining me. Got a question for you. Do you want to see how we make real good chicken? Of course you do. And you're right at the source and behind the scenes. We are raising a flock of 125 Cornish rock cross meat chickens for poultry production. And it's fun because I can kind of show you a couple of unique comparisons that you don't always get to see. My name is Melissa. Thank you for joining me. We are trying to grow our YouTube channel here, Twin Oaks Farm Poultry. Please let the video run from start to finish. You can't imagine how that helps us in YouTube on the platform. Interacting with the video with a thumbs up, with a comment, and interacting with the channel with a subscribe or joining with a membership. That helps us tremendously too. But where we are struggling to grow the channel is watch hours. We need to get to 4,000 watch hours on a rolling 365-day timetable to be able to grow our channel and advance it on the platform. That's just the way YouTube works. So help us out, please. Just please let it run from start to finish. Thank you so much for joining us. We do, as I said, have a flock in production. So 125 Cornish rock cross meat chickens at 15 days old. But let me show you something else first. So if you go to a grocery store, if you go to a restaurant and you order chicken, pretty much throughout the world, the kinds of chickens raised for commercial poultry production are these kind of chickens, Cornish rock cross meat chickens. Now, in addition to them being the top-notch poultry producer of chickens throughout the world and being readily available at stores, groceries, markets, restaurants, you also, if you want to raise your own chickens, can get these kinds of chickens as chicks from hatcheries and raise them yourself if you want to do that. Take a look at Cornish rock cross meat chickens finished. Okay, so these are birds that were actually in a previous flock that were slow growers on our timetable. So we aim to have birds start to finish in 42 days or less. As close, so far our program has been as close to 42 days without going over as possible. Okay, so these three birds were in our very most recent flock, and at 6 weeks old, they were just small. They were just slow growers, and we decided we're not going to take them to the processor at this size, and we're going to keep them here. And we recognized that by the time our next flock is ready to go to the processor, these birds would be beyond finished at that point. So we probably won't be able to keep them growing until December 4th when the next flock goes to the processor. But we may be able to just butcher these at home and process for home consumption. But nonetheless, this is about the size we expect Cornish rock cross meat chickens to get to in 6 weeks. Okay, and possibly even a little bigger is what the expectation is. So these just happen to be slow growers, and you have that occasionally in a group. You know, your goal as a producer is what we call uniformity of growth, where basically all the birds are comparable size and attaining the same growth all at the same rate. But sometimes you have ones that grow a little slower, but they're quite agile. These birds are more like 9 weeks old now, so that's very atypical for us to have 9-week-old Cornish rock cross meat chickens. I mentioned we aim for 6 weeks. We have a group behind me that is 15 days old. Okay, so they are doing excellent. So let's go over here. We're dealing a little bit with some strong lighting and some shadow, but that's okay. We're letting some sunlight in here to get some bright light in and to get good ventilation. That's why we have these big doorways on our barn. We actually have big doorways on every side of the barn. That allows for great air exchange, because with birds, they actually, their entire excrement material is in one package. They manure, and that includes the urine. Okay, so that means it's very hot which basically is to say has a lot of ammonia in it, and it can cause a very smelly chicken house. So we wanted to be able to like almost make it open air in our design. So that's why we designed it with those doorways, and we basically can open the whole thing up and give the birds lots and lots of great air exchange. So you can see we have some choosing to sit in the sunlight. We have some choosing to still utilize the targeted warmth from heat lamps. We have some staying back along this wall. How they're using this heat lamp is excellent. They're leaving the middle where the beam is hitting basically open, and the birds are kind of making a circle around the outside of it. That's how we want to see them use a targeted warmth heat source. They love to stretch like this. They love to like prop up on one side, expose the underbelly a little bit, and stretch a leg out. They love that posture. That's a bit of a risky posture. As a producer, we don't really like to see that posture because there's a rollover risk there. And if that bird loses balance, gets tipped on its back, it's hard then for those birds to breathe on their backs, and they really don't have a way to turn themselves back over right if they get totally on their backs. We just here came up with the term turtled. We say, oh, it's like a turtle, he's turtled. You know, if he's on his back, they got to have help to get back upright. There's one oh, it was snoozing. Somebody behind it kind of disturbed him and woke him up. But you can see these birds are getting their feathering. So there's basically, see if we can get close up on one where the lighting will cooperate with us. You can kind of tell on the backs of their heads, it still looks like chick fluff, the yellowy, downy fluff, but the rest of their bodies, they're starting to get like the white feathers, but you're also seeing just like quills, you know, coming in. See like the tail feathers there. So these birds are feathering, and that's a really important thing that's going on. Look at that. In this stage of development, they're feathering. Now here, this is interesting. Okay, so I showed you those three, and I said, you know, they're still here because they're slow growers. So look here. So there's a noticeable size difference in these two birds at the feeder. So the one closest to us that I would say is in the front of the screen is quite a bit smaller than the one on the other side of it, okay? So we're seeing right there, the smaller one, that's an individual that we would say is lacking uniformity of growth relative to the rest of its flock, okay? But who knows, you know, it could catch up, or I don't know, I can't tell just from the angle I'm at. Could be that the bigger one is a male and the smaller one is a female, but even at that, it looks like the smaller one just is smaller in general than most of them in the flock. So I mentioned, you know, one could be male, one could be female. So we order our chicks straight run. See how both those birds are propped up like that? They love to sit like that, but so they're like basking. Those are basking in the sunlight, really, but it's a rollover risk. So, you know, that it concerns us. What was I saying? Oh, we get male and female. Okay, so in poultry world, we call that straight run. When you order a flock, or if you even go to like, you know, agricultural supply store where they sell chicks, they might have straight run on an offering of chicks. Well, that means that you take what you get. There could be males, there could be females, there could be a mixture, and you just take them as is, okay? So that's actually how we order our chicks. Sometimes people that are raising meat birds will only order males because the males would grow faster, okay? So you could actually attain a bigger bird in a shorter amount of time relative to straight run. So we get straight run, you know, because we like a little variety. We raise them for marketing the meat to clients, and we find that, you know, sometimes some of our clients want a real big bird. There's the small one. It's preening right there. We find that sometimes some of our clients want a real big bird, and sometimes they want a smaller bird. So in general, we just are content with straight run. Yeah, I wondered about this. So we had this happen in the last flock. Okay, so this accounts for the lack of uniformity of growth. I don't know if y'all can see it. So I can identify that bird is a scissor beak bird, and that's why we're seeing the stunted growth. So if we see, yeah, can you see a little bit when you get a look at the bird's beak? See the deviation? The top and bottom beak don't line up, and there you go. So that bird is capable of eating and drinking, but it's harder for that bird to eat and drink adequately. Okay, so that bird isn't getting the same level of feedstuffs relative to its needs that the rest of the flock is getting, simply because of that deformity from hatch. Okay, so we thought we had seen one in this flock with a scissor beak, and that's the first time that I've really been able to be certain that that one is. So there is scissor beak right there. That doesn't happen lots and lots, but like I said, we just had a flock of 400 plus and we had one in it, and here we've got a flock of 100 plus and we've got one in it. But we've started 1,650 birds over the calendar year for 2024. Those are the only two. So only two out of 1,650 had come through here that had this scissor beak deformity. So that's relatively low, but in terms of success as a meat bird, I know right away that bird will not be successful as a meat bird for us. So if that bird does sustain itself through production, it's not going to go to the processor. Okay, so we've got birds over here at the water. Let's try to get over here. Okay, so to finish up too, was going to tell y'all, so a thing that I was really excited about, I worked last night until about 9:30, got home about 10, and I had said to my family, hey family, the meat birds, you know, they really need more room. It's okay if we can't get to it till this weekend, but can we get geared up to get them some more room? So previously, let me tell you where their pen did come to. Previously, that short wall you're looking at right there, it was going across here. Right there. It's going across right here to the right side of that big waterer. Okay? So that was all the room these birds had. And we said if we can just move their wall over to the middle of that doorway, that'll give them more room, and it'll give us 2 to 4 more heat lamps to drop down. Okay, so I didn't expect to be able to do that till this weekend, but when I got home from work last night, the guys had it done. Okay, so that gave these birds more room. That's super. Nights are getting into 40 degrees, so that gave them a little more targeted warmth where we need it. But they're doing, look how sweet. Yes, they're being raised for meat, and yes, we still think that they look cute and sweet in the beginning. Okay, so wanted to get in on those. Okay, so I don't know, if y'all have questions, let me know. I know we get asked what's our feed program, so pretty soon here I want to do a video on that, telling you how we approach feeding with them. Last thing I wanted to show you, I said we'd wrap it up, but I want to show you this. I forgot to show it to you. We do have egg production birds that are exactly the same age. Okay, so recalling, there's meat birds at 15 days old. These birds are exactly the same age. These are Rhode Island Reds that will be for egg production. So they're much smaller than meat birds. Okay, and that's why these birds are great for poultry production, because they really have been selectively bred to grow rapidly, put on meat quickly, and put it into the places where we want it for cuts of meat, like boneless, skinless chicken breast. So there's egg production chickens at 15 days old. And there's meat production chickens at 15 days old. Okay, so I was really excited to see their pen expansion. So we now call this the grower phase, and we call where they're living the grower pen. It's the same place they were at when we started them, and we said it was brooding space, and that was their starting time. But you know, it's just showing a progression of growth within the flock. So they were hatched October 23rd, 2024. They will be ready for poultry processing December 4th. That's a matter of about 42 days. Thanks for joining us, y'all.